Mount Everest, the tallest mountain on Earth, a majestic giant reaching into the sky like nature's middle finger. And every year, humans look at this frozen death triangle and say, yeah, I could probably walk up that. Spoiler, it is not a walk. It is more like paying a fortune to slowly freeze while breathing through a straw. Most people spend their vacation on a beach. Everest climbers spend theirs wondering whether their toes are still legally attached. But why do people climb Everest? Glory? Adventure? A deep spiritual calling? Mostly, probably, for the profile picture. Chapter 1. Training for Everest. Before climbing Everest, you need serious training. And by serious training, I mean being able to climb stairs without immediately negotiating with God. Climbers train with heavy backpacks, long hikes, strength workouts, and cardio. Meanwhile, I get altitude sickness standing up too fast after eating chips. Professional climbers spend months preparing their bodies. Because Everest does not care that you once did CrossFit in 2019. You also need gear. Lots of gear. Boots, jackets, gloves, goggles, ropes, oxygen tanks, tents, sleeping bags, and enough layers to look like a walking laundry basket. And it is expensive. Very expensive. Basically, Everest asks, would you like to suffer? And then adds, great. That will be tens of thousands of dollars. Chapter 2. Getting to base camp. First, climbers travel to Nepal and head toward Everest Base Camp. Many start by flying into Lukla, an airport famous for being less airport and more short, concrete suggestion. If your plane lands successfully, congratulations. You have completed the first boss fight. Then comes the trek to base camp. It takes days of hiking through villages, valleys, suspension bridges, and yak traffic. Yaks are like mountain cows with better job security than most humans. The bridges look beautiful, unless you are afraid of heights, wind, movement, ropes, or being alive. At this point, Everest is still far away, but your legs are already filing a formal complaint. Finally, climbers reach base camp. Base camp is basically a frozen festival, except the music is coughing and the food tastes like altitude. Chapter 3. Acclimatization, or why are we going up and down? At high altitude, the air has less oxygen, which means your body reacts like you just asked it to run Windows 11 on a potato. So climbers need to acclimatize. That means they climb higher, then come back down, then climb higher again, then come back down again. It is like hiking designed by someone who hates progress. Climbers move between different camps. Base camp, Camp 1, Camp 2, Camp 3, and Camp 4. Every camp gets colder, higher, and more committed to ruining your sleep. Chapter 4. The Khumbu Icefall. One of the first major challenges is the Khumbu Icefall. It is a chaotic maze of ice towers, cracks, ladders, and bad decisions. Climbers cross deep crevasses using ladders. Yes, ladders. Like the ones in your garage, except now they are above a giant ice hole. And you are wearing crampons, carrying a pack, and trying not to think about gravity's excellent track record. The icefall constantly moves, cracks, and collapses. It is basically a frozen obstacle course built by a villain with a snow machine. If you survive the icefall, good news, the mountain has many more ways to ruin your day. Chapter 5. Higher camps and lower morale. Camp 1 is high, cold, and uncomfortable. Water comes from melted snow, which sounds magical until you realize it tastes like cold disappointment. Camp 2 is a bit more serious. Meals are usually freeze-dried because apparently suffering is better when dehydrated. Nothing says fine dining like squeezing dinner out of a bag while your eyelashes freeze. Then comes the Lhotse face, a steep wall of ice. Climbers use fixed ropes to move upward, one careful step at a time. Looking up, it seems impossible. Looking down, it seems like a mistake. Camp 3 is placed on the side of the mountain because apparently flat ground was too mainstream. Sleeping there is like camping on a frozen wall while the wind tries to repossess your tent. Chapter 6. The Death Zone. Above about 8,000 meters is known as the Death Zone. At this altitude, the human body is not having a good time. You are not recovering. You are not relaxing. You are basically slowly becoming a popsicle with ambitions. Camp 4 is the final camp before the summit push. Climbers usually start at night because apparently Everest was not dramatic enough during daytime. They climb in darkness with headlamps, oxygen masks, and the energy level of a phone at 2%. Sometimes there are queues near the summit. Imagine standing in traffic, but at cruising altitude, on a mountain, while freezing. And unlike normal traffic, you cannot just turn up the radio and complain about cyclists. Chapter 7. The Summit. Finally, after weeks of pain, cold, fear, training, and noodles, the climber reaches the summit of Mount Everest, the highest point on Earth, a place so high even your problems are technically below you. And what do humans do at the top of the world? They take a selfie, obviously. Maybe they hold a flag. Maybe they cry. Maybe they think deep thoughts, and then they remember the worst part. Reaching the summit is only halfway. You still have to get back down, which is rude. The mountain should really have an elevator. Why do people do this? So why climb Everest? For adventure, for challenge, for the dream of standing on top of the world. And also because humans are weird little creatures who see danger and think, but imagine the story. Personally, I prefer climbing into bed. No frostbite, no ladders over death holes, no yak traffic. But hey, if you enjoyed this trip to Everest without losing any toes, like, subscribe, and remember, adventure is great, especially with Wi-Fi and snacks. Subscribe for more.